Our fall view of the field and garden are gorgeous. We love to check on the cornfield from the back porch, but it is finally time to harvest it. They've brought all the equipment over today to harvest the seed corn, and it's been really fun to watch their progress throughout the day. It's also time to weed the pumpkin patch in anticipation for its annual opening. The weeds have been pretty tall this year, and it's really hard to find the pumpkins. But once it is weeded, there were so many treasures to be found. Our temperatures have been nice and mild, but we've had some close to freezing nighttime temperatures, which means our cut flower garden doesn't have too many more weeks to get blooms. Today we're tying strips of fabrics to the dahlias to mark the tubers we want to harvest for next year. If we wait for the freeze, we can never remember which dahlias we want to keep. Today's big project is cutting and preserving some of our herb garden. And I'm going to be the first to admit that we did not have a very fruitful herb garden this year. It was kind of piddly actually, but we're going to harvest what we have because every little bit counts. And when it comes to herbs, a small amount can go a long way. So today we're harvesting cuttings from our basil. And in this barrel we have thyme, oregano, and rosemary. We're also harvesting some mint and chives. And mint and chives are known to spread like crazy if you are not careful with it. So we actually plant our chives in a barrel, and then we can kind of contain them a little bit and they don't spread all over our yard or our property. Our mint is also in a barrel. However, my husband loves mint and he drinks mint tea all the time, so he likes to harvest his own mint. So he created this little mint patch at the base of our property where he can get all the mint that he wants. We like to preserve our herbs by dehydrating them. We do have a freeze dryer and we have used it before, but dehydrating is our preferred method. So in order to dehydrate them, we want to take them down to pretty much just the leaves. So we'll strip the leaves off of the stems of the herb, whether it be mint, basil, rosemary, thyme, oregano. Sometimes for some of the smaller ones, like my oregano and thyme this year is pretty small, so I just leave the leaves on and then I'll strip the leaves off after we have put them in the dehydrator. It's always a good idea to start by cleaning all of your herbs. So rinsing them in some cool water and throwing them into a salad spinner is a great way to ensure they get clean and dry. When you're dehydrating them, obviously that's going to cook them at a very low temperature, and so a lot of that moisture will leave. However, it will be a longer process if they have a lot of water on them. So I definitely use my salad spinner. So they're all on my trays for my dehydrator. You can see my chives there are even kind of stacked on top of each other, and that's fine. They will dry in the dehydrator. Lastly, put your herbs in your dehydrator at 115 degrees Fahrenheit for about 10 to 12 hours. You can do less time, but I always err on the side of caution and make sure I have a lot of time for them to dry. And then it's just time to sit back and wait until they're dry. After 10 to 12 hours, you can pull your herbs out of your dehydrator. You want to make sure that they are crispy or brittle, so they kind of break apart in your fingers as you touch them. If they're still soft or they can bend without breaking, then they're not ready to go yet. So you'll want to put them back in for a couple more hours. I find that my chives take a little bit longer than my others that are just the flat leaves. So they usually have to go in a couple more hours. Then I can simply just take them from the drying rack and place them right into my jars or my spice containers or whatever I might use. For things like my thyme and my oregano that are still on the stems, I'll carefully pull them off the stem right into my container. That way I can discard those stems and it's not something that ends up in our food. For my chives, I'll take scissors and cut about a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch piece of chive into a bowl because it does make a big mess. And then I'll use a funnel and drop them into my jar that way. For our mint, we'll pull it out of the dehydrator and we put it on a silicone mat. That's just going to keep everything clean and put it right into our blender. Now you could leave the leaves whole if you wanted to, but we'll make it into a fine powder and that's how we store it, just for a little bit extra space. We just put it in our Ninja blender, make it into a powder, and then my husband has these tea bags that he will put his tea blend into. He usually does about 2 scoops into a bag, and then he'll place that bag right into his mug with some hot water and let it steep until it has that delicious mint flavor. Harvest season is always super rewarding. Knowing that we are growing food and providing seeds to our community and to our own family is so satisfying. But really, when it comes down to it, we grow our own food, we grow our own herbs so that we can be self-sufficient and that we can provide flavor and nutrition to our family for long term. We hope you've enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.